everybody. Today was the beginning of opening statements for the Casey Anthony trial today. And as the defense promised, they did not disappoint. They promised to drop a bombshell. But let me start from the beginning. The prosecution presented their case in their opening statement, and I actually thought the lead prosecutor did a great job. She was wonderful with before she even got to laying out the timeline of events, she actually spent some time talking about why everyone was there. And they were there because of the death of a child called Kaylee Marie Anthony. And that's something that she did not want to get lost on this jury today. That's something that the defense did want to get lost on the jury. So that's interesting. They shifted the blame they shifted the victimization or being a victim from Kaylee to Casey. Now Casey's the victim. And we must save this victim because it's not her fault. Okay, I'm going too fast, so let me go back. So the prosecution presents their opening statements. They break down a pretty decent timeline that talks about what Casey did in March, long before we even got to June, and then what Casey did all during the time when Kaylee was not seen by anyone, and then what she did when they finally did find Casey and bring her back home, and what happened consistently after that over time. And what was interesting was you had a couple of times where Casey seemed affected, not many, but a few. Then you move to the defense. Jose Baez gets up, does his opening statements. The bombshells that he chose to drop were, some of it I expected, some of it I didn't. The first one being what I expected. I expected him to say that Kaylee drowned in the pool. I guess my first question when he said that was, well, that's something she could have told everyone years ago. Why just now? And then we figure out, well, it's because they want to concoct this whole story about it was at night and Kaylee went out to the pool and she drowned and George found her and George did whatever. So anyway, then they get into all this stuff about trying to basically make the Anthonys look like the bad people. George Anthony, that George took Kaylee's body and he disposed of it, and somehow the meter reader got a hold to it, and they still never made that connection for me. I'm still lost as to how the body goes from being with Casey to Roy Crunk. I still haven't figured that out yet. And I don't think Jose Baez has figured it out yet, but I certainly didn't get it today. And then they get into basically railroading George Anthony, Lee Anthony, and Cindy Anthony. Now, this is an important point that I want to make, and I wonder if the Anthonys picked up on this. For so long, they rode hard and fast with Casey Anthony, believing in what she said. The nanny, the nanny, the nanny. But then they never met the nanny. They had never even spoken to the nanny prior to that day. So the fact that they continued to support Casey's story does prove what the defense said, that the Anthony family is a dysfunctional family. But who the hell doesn't come from a dysfunctional family? However, these people are dysfunctional on levels that I've never seen before. This is an extreme level of delusion and dysfunction. So, needless to say, they wanted to believe their daughter, because whenever, you know how it's like, I can talk about my mama, but you can't talk about my mama kind of thing. So for them to believe that Casey's a liar is one thing, but for someone else to accuse Casey of being a liar is a whole other beast. And I think that's when they turned into the protective parents. And today, the defense took a big ass train and rolled it right over Cindy Anthony, George Anthony, and Lee Anthony. And maybe, it looks as if they weren't surprised, but they were surprised. But at the same time, why be surprised? Your daughter was railroading other people, accusing other people of taking Kaylee, or putting doubt about other people in minds of other folk. So why do you think she wouldn't do it to you? You helped her do it to other people. This is something that you have to remember. If you help someone do something foul, chances are they're going to do the same foul thing to you at some other point. You're not exempt. You just weren't up at that time for being abused and used. That's it. Another insightful thing that I noticed today, Casey, and not so much noticed today, I've been noticing this from the beginning of the case. Casey, you usually know when Casey's lying. When Casey is lying, if she's shaking her head, she's lying. But if what is being said is true, she doesn't flinch. Not at all. Only if what is being said if what, let me go back to that. I lost my thought for a minute. If what is being said is true, she says, she shakes. No. If what is being said is false, she has no response whatsoever. The other thing that I noticed about Casey Anthony is she only breaks down and bawls when it's about her. Never when it's about Kaylee. Which leads me to start thinking, yeah, you guys say she was a great doting mother, but I'm starting to wonder if a lot of that was an act for everyone else. Because this doting mother doesn't break down. She didn't break down when they showed Kaylee's skull on the screen today. She did cry, but she didn't get anywhere near as much emotion as she got when they said to her that, when they basically said that she had been sexually abused by George Anthony. That was the only time that Casey really broke down. Then at the end of today, George Anthony gets on the stand. He is interviewed by prosecutors. He is interviewed by the defense. Cross-examined, by the defense. I think that George was a great witness for the prosecution. I think that he was credible. So to anybody who says he wasn't, I can see how someone could say that, but I disagree. I think he's far more credible than Casey. And so in that way, I think George knocked it out the park today. So I will be there tomorrow watching with bells on. I just want justice for Kaylee. I don't have any other investment in this case. Just I find court cases pretty interesting and the whole process of it all. So I'm just waiting to see what happens tomorrow and what happens when Cindy Anthony's called to the stand. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you at the next video. Peace.